Hi, everybody. Welcome to today's Solutions Spotlight. I will give it a couple more ticks before we officially dive in. Uh, Brad, you mentioned that you're traveling up to Missoula. What are you going to be doing up there?
Yeah, there's a firm up there we're going to be seeing. So me and my team will bring some product people in. Um, we do it for the enterprise team. We go on site to firms usually when they're evaluating Altruist. So
Oh, super
yeah.
cool.
Yeah, and then I'm hoping to do some hiking on Friday morning before I leave. Maybe see a grizzly.
Yeah, well, good luck to you there. Bring some bear spray just
I
in
told
case.
my wife that. I told my wife that this morning. She's like, "Can you not?"
Right. Come home in one piece. That would be
Uh-huh.
fantastic. Oh gosh. Have you been to Missoula before?
I have not. I've been to Bozeman, but not
Okay.
not
Well,
Missoula.
enjoy. Missoula is such a fun town. I adore it. Don't tell any Bozemannites, but I kind of prefer Missoula. But it is what it is.
Those sound like fighting words.
I know, right? I'm betraying I'm betraying the townsfolk here, but anywho, we have a lot to cover. It is 10:33 my time, so I will get us started. Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's Solution Spotlight, Advisor Workflows and Best Practices with Altruist. My name is Sarah Williams. I am XYPN's Senior Partnerships Operations Manager, and joining me today are Brad Sparks, Enterprise Sales Director at Altruist, and Jeremy Eppley, Founder and CEO of Silverstone Financial and a longtime Altruist power user. In this session, Brad and Jeremy will be sharing how firms can streamline investment management, simplify custodial operations, and create an exceptional client experience using Altruist. They'll walk through some real-world workflows, best practices, productivity tips from everything from account opening and transfers to portfolio management, rebalancing, reporting, and more. Now, before I turn it over to Brad and Jeremy, I have a couple of housekeeping items to share with you. This webinar is being recorded, so if you need to leave for any reason, or if you're not watching this live, then the recording will be available on the website in the next day or so. And there will be some time for Q&A. And as questions come up, just drop them in the Q&A tab below, and they'll be answered throughout the presentation. And then we have some upcoming events XYPN does that we'd love to share with you that are coming up this upcoming week. Oh my gosh, that was very redundant. But tomorrow, Wednesday, August 26th, we are hosting an Insider Insight session with Karen Haggard, founder of K Haggard Design. And that session is titled Build a Brand Identity That Sets You Apart. And Thursday is going to be a session from XYPN Sapphire, Director of Advisor Experience, Andrea Istwan, is hosting a webinar called What Makes a Great Corporate RIA Partnership. I will drop both of those links for registration in the chat. And then last but not least, XYPN Live is coming to San Diego in just a month. That is wild. September 29th to October 1st. I will drop the link to register, but please do consider coming. It is one of my favorite events of the entire year. And in San Diego, California, nonetheless, it's going to be just so beautiful. You know, it's going to be on the marina and everything. So I hope to see you all there. But without further ado, Brad, Jeremy, I will turn it over to you.
Very good. Nice to see everyone. I'm a former advisor myself. I also used Altruist. Then I took a little stint at running a startup before joining Altruist as the enterprise sales director. I've been to XYPN Live in Minnesota, and I actually am looking through the attendee list, and I recognize a few names in here who I've met in person before. So it's a pleasure to be here. This is going to be a really informative, hopefully an engaging session. As Jeremy, as I kick it off to you, if you could, as an attendee, any of you attendees, just hit the raise hand button if you have that. If you have used Altruist, because it'd be helpful to understand how many of you are familiar with the platform, use it real time. And then as you guys are doing that, Jeremy, if you wanted to give a quick intro to yourself as well.
Yeah, sure. I'm an XYPN member, founder of a small RIA, and been on the XY forums for many years, and had lots of calls with lots of XYPN members asking about Altruist. Either they were thinking about adding it, or they were in the launch process, and should I launch with Altruist or be multi-custodial or use a different custodian? And through all those different calls, I had lots of these questions that pop up over and over, and all the time, it's like, well, I would use Altruist, but it can't do this feature. And I'm like, yeah, they released like a year and a half. Did you miss that feature? So there's such speed of new releases that sometimes you miss that Altruist can do a lot of the features that you've been waiting on. So the ideal outcome of this webinar here is to get all our XYPN users or anyone else that is attending to know what Altruist can do, have kind of a showcase of the entire platform, which is now a large platform that can do quite a bit of things, quite a few great features. So yeah, I'll throw it back to Brad. I think he's going to share his screen and show us a demo, and we're going to try to get through every nook and cranny of the platform and have some tips.
Yeah, and as we as Jeremy and I crafted this, we did it in hopefully the flow of actually just running your practice, right? So a little bit nostalgic for me because it's like what I used to do. I will say you're going to get a little bit of sneak peeks of some product releases that are in the demo that are not yet released, so that'll be fun. Um, Although some of those yet, like the full functionality of them, doesn't work yet because it's not even released. So you'll see like a good example is options trading, and we could click through that, but then I would leave you sorely disappointed because I can't get through the whole workflow. So, but like Jeremy said, we release very quickly, and so a lot of these things are happening. They're going to be released here within a few weeks, and a lot of things might have already been released that you didn't know about. So, we will go ahead and get started. And really, what I'll start with is just showing kind of what the dashboard looks like. So, and this is going to be a review for some of you, so bear with me if it is, or maybe you'll pick up on some small hints. But you'll see high level navigation on the left. So, really, if you want to see, and actually, I should say this for those of you that aren't familiar with Altruist, Altruist is a self clearing custodian. But unlike other custodians where you have to put point solutions on top of it, a lot of the things are actually built into the platform. So what you're seeing on the left is a lot of the things that you might see in a custodial platform, like your households and accounts. But you're going to see other things too, like trading, UMA building, model marketplace, billing, reporting, e-sign functionalities, things like that. So your main navigation's here on the left. On the home page, you're able to see actual accounts that are in flight. So if you've invited someone, where their ACAT is, where they're at in the process, whether they've opened the invite, whether they're in progress, if something's been recently opened and now you need to understand where the ACAT is, assigning a portfolio to that account or billing schedule, or if something's still in drafts. Okay. So this is the main kind of functionality, or like a dashboard, a landing place to see where things are at. I will say, when I was practicing, I oftentimes would go into the households or accounts tab because this is where you can get pretty granular on understanding your entire book and where certain accounts and households are. So account groups are like rep codes. So if you have multiple advisors or if you have different kind of like segmentation within your book, you could use account groups for that. So you can see households and account groups. You can also subscribe households to Altruist One, which is a pricing methodology that we could get to later. And this is a new sneak peek also for you, Jeremy, asset location. So this is a really fun one we'll go into later, but you can set that up here at the household level. On the flip side, you can go into the accounts level and you'll actually able to see all the specific accounts, if they're being tax managed or not. If you want to turn that on, same thing with fee schedules to make sure all your clients actually have fee schedules assigned. You can here enable options. Again, another new feature within the account group. Okay. And then you can look at certain rebalances when those happen with portfolios or assigned to accounts, things like that. So this is an overall kind of navigational view. I'll go into account opening. Jeremy, anything you wanted to point out specifically as in your experience using Altruist here?
Yeah, the households, the account tab is super useful. A lot of times I'll just scroll to the bottom of the home screen and there's the top 10 households. And a lot of my time does just fall to those top 10. So it's a quick and easy click into them, or you can hit the view all clients and get back to those that household tab. It's great. I think you can export to CSV, all this stuff really easy with the download. And yeah, it's you don't have to click through 1,000 different tabs, or have to filter different views. It's really nice.
All right, very good. So where we kind of made our bread and butter was the digital account opening. And I'm gonna get a little nerdy here. But when we say digital account opening, that like means something a little bit precious to us at Altruist, because it is you guys might think of digital account opening as like, oh, it's a DocuSign packet that one-stop shop, everything's imported, it gets signed, sent off to the custodian. On the custodian side, that's actually a very different process than true digital account opening. Because even then, you have to have an accounts team reviewing the DocuSign forms and then having a manual review, which leads to slow processing times and increased NIGOs. At Altruist, digital account opening is just that. You fill out a digital form, it goes through digital and automated verifications, leading to faster account opening and much less NIGOs. Okay. I'll talk about those briefly at the end of this, kind of like summarize the whole process. But I do just want to show you the account opening workflow. When I was practicing, I always did invite, even if I was sitting with a client in person. Reason being is if you do it this way, it's going to capture the client's email address and automatically create a client portal for them. Okay. Otherwise, you can do the in person as well. They're just going to have to proactively, after the fact, create a client portal. And then you can do bulk imports as well through a spreadsheet. All right, so you're going to start by creating a household. We've already looked at the household functionality and how you can do some organization with that. So this is where you would choose that household. I'll go into the Gilbertson family. So it's a household already created. Inside the household is where you're going to open accounts. You can open up to 10 accounts per one account opening session at a time within that household. So that's inclusive of our high yield cash accounts. So these are FDIC insured accounts. They are not brokerage accounts that you trade in. So a lot of firms actually use these as a planning tool, a liquidity bucket, right? Like this is where you can get automated RMDs put into, you can do automated contributions into your in journals, into your IRAs that your clients have on platform. You can use this as an emergency fund that's generating cash for clients. So that's a really popular account opening that we see a lot. And then you'll see we have all sorts of retirement accounts. We have non-qualified accounts, minor accounts, business accounts. So this list here is maybe for some of you a big update, what you might have seen even a year and a half ago. One of the big, I'm kind of like peppering in some of the roadmap things as we go here, because I'm going to avoid sharing like a send out roadmap like PDF as we're still finalizing H2 roadmap right now internally. But one of the things that will come out towards the end of September is donor advised funds. And that's a really slick build. I've seen it live. It's a really, it'll be delightful to use. But that's another account type that we will support very soon.
Yeah, I had been shown some demos of the DAF account, and it is very, very impressive. Like I specialize in inheritance estate planning, charitable planning. That's my niche, and I am over the moon excited for the DAF accounts. A couple of things I want to point out on the list, and we had a question about getting a list of all the account types sent out. Is there an online resource, or is that something that we can provide?
Yeah, I think we can provide that afterwards. Sarah, if are we able to just capture kind of like an ongoing list of things to potentially send out after this, and I can put that together?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So of this account list, I want to point out a few of the ones that a lot of you might be interested in. The single member LLC, like I have accounts open for high yield cash for my LLC for my actual RIA. So any of you that have been trying to find some sort of savings vehicle for an LLC that actually pays pretty well, I think was it 3.2%, and then there's a boost for a short period of time. Like it's hard to find a business account that is FDIC insured, that isn't an investment, but is actual cash, and transfers between bank accounts. Altruist is like shockingly fast. A lot of time is one day. I'm oftentimes very surprised at how quickly cash moves between the cash account and your external accounts. One other thing I really want to quickly mention about tips and tricks for the household names. I think it does default to last name family. How we've done it, and we just manually do this for all of our accounts, where we name them all last name, comma, first name and first name. And so for families that have, say, parents and then two children, adult children that have their own households, when you filter your household tabs, they're all right next to each other, but you can easily distinguish, okay, this is Smith parents, Smith son, Smith daughter. And so just a naming convention that we do, but not everyone, it might not fit your workflows.
Very good. That's a good tip. I like that. I'll use that in calls. Okay, very good. So let's move through here. Let's go back to the Gilbertsons. So let's just say we want to open up a Roth IRA and a joint cash account and individual account. Okay, easy. Click those three. If we wanted to do two Roth IRAs, you just do a plus, and you'll hit next here. This is where you'll select the account group. So we'll put them in Brad's account group. But like I said before, you can use account groups for multiple things. So if you wanted to say planning only clients, you could have a planning only account group. This is one of those interesting things that the industry has operated on rep codes. And that's how we think about things. And you can definitely use an account group like that. But you can also use it so much more. Like we give you flexibility on how you're going to use account groups. It could be segmentation. It could be certain branding. It could be joint work. So just know that, and then you'll always assign accounts to an account group when you open them.
If I can, so how we use account groups. So we don't do the classic rep code, broker dealer model. How we do it is, so my firm is myself and my business partner, and we were both solos that merged together. So we have actually five account groups. We have a TBD account group where if there's multiple accounts and we want to assign different account opening to different sections. That's some feedback I'll give Brad here, that it'd be great if we could specify, if we're opening like 4 different accounts, I want this account to go to this account group and this account to go to a different account group. Right now, it's just your entire chunk that you're doing here goes into one. So I have the TBD. But we have excluded account groups. So it's like family members or our own accounts that we don't bill on, just so we can see that AUM separately when we do reports. We have one for my clients, one for Gordon's clients, and then one for high yield cash, which we also don't bill on. So we have that, and we can easily filter in our reports because of those account groups. But some people might want to do rep codes or other kinds of splits like that.
Very good. Yes, that's exactly right. And we'll actually come into account groups a little bit more too as we talk about teams and permissioning and custom branding, because account groups are an important function of that.
Yeah.
Here is where you will select the clients within this household. So, for a joint account, you're going to select 2. Let's say Roth IRA, you've got one. Individual, you've got another. Very easily, you can just connect up your CRM if you wanted to, or you can do a new client. And so we see a lot of firms almost using Altruist as in some cases, like a pseudo robo advisor, where they might do like a webinar, and then they get a bunch of lead gen from that. And what they do is in the lead gen, they get first, last, email, phone, and address. And then they send out the client invite here with nothing else pre-filled. And it becomes almost much more like you can almost think like a B2C or like a retail banking type experience, where then the client gets the email and fills out the rest of the application themselves. So you can have that flexibility all the way to the other end, where it's most of you are probably doing this. And this is what we see most of the time, is more like a white glove kind of concierge, where you're filling out all the forms and then you just send out, it has to be reviewed and clicked accept. Okay. But if you wanted to add a new contact very easily, you could here. And then we will move into the actual account application for this. So it'll do it for every signer. Okay. In one fell swoop here, you're going to review the information. If they already have an account on platform, it's going to be pre-filled, and some things you can't change, right? Like if you already have a client that has a social, you cannot change that social on the platform, that's actually helps the NIGOs, right? Like we've already confirmed the social one time. Let's avoid the fat fingering and just copy and paste it here. Saves you time and better client experience down the road. Okay.
And we can pre-fill this stuff. I love, if I know the details, I'll pre-fill it. The client gets an almost filled out account application. Other times I don't know it, and they fill it out. And I think you mentioned that, but it is super clean, and the clients they intuitively understand it since it's slightly grayed out, and they fix it if they need to.
Yep. Yeah, and whatever is blank, they'll be prompted to fill in, which is why another reason the NIGOs are removed is because you cannot proceed on an application until the things are filled out. The only thing, if you pre-fill something out, the only thing a client would have to do is confirm their date of birth and their social. Those are the things the client has to do. Okay, so we'll move through here, and again, all this is I mean, I shouldn't downplay the technology achievement of Altruist here, but this is just a paper form that has been digitized into drop downs and free form text fields. I think where it starts to get really exciting with the account opening workflow is where we start. Again, you do beneficiaries and trusted contacts, but it's when we actually get into the funding piece. So think you've just filled out a normal account application. It's just digital. Now you actually can initiate the funding, the ACAT transfers, and you can do that without the need for a statement. So you just click where this is coming from. All you need is the account type, the account number, and whoever the owner is. Okay. Once that gets submitted, once the client gets the email to approve this, they check the box and say they approve this, and then it gets automatically sent to the contra firm as soon as the account's opened. Okay. Generally 2 to 4 days, accounts are funded. All right. The other piece of funding is the actual bank linking. And so you can come in here and you can link a bank for a client. If they already have one, you can just check that box and it'll be linked up just like it is to their existing accounts. Or you can add a new bank. You just say the type, bank, routing, account number, no need for a voided check or a bank statement. With the caveat that sometimes like small banks, small community banks or credit unions, sometimes we will run a verification on these numbers. And if you hit next, you'll be notified that like, hey, this bank needs an additional verification. But the vast majority of banks do not. And then a quick note here on the client side, they actually have Plaid. So they can do the same linking of a bank account in the account opening flow, or they can click the Plaid widget and they get sent to Plaid to select where their bank is from. They put username and password in, and it links the bank automatically. Okay. When a bank account is linked, it automatically comes with a move money authorization or another custodian language, like a standing letter of authorization, which means that you don't need a separate form and a separate signing process after the fact to be able to start moving money. So when the account is open, so you send this to the client, you review. When this account is opened, which again, once clients hit open, it's generally 3 seconds or less. The account is actually open, account number, bank's linked, money's being moved, the transfers are being initiated, and then you as the advisor can set up recurring contributions, distributions, ACHs, all of those things. So when I was practicing, I do surge planning. And instead of prior to Altruist, I do all my surge, I get the action items, I send them to my staff. My staff would process those over the next 1 to 2 weeks because they have to, get the clients to, get this like cat and mouse game. Well, once we moved to Altruist, we actually just did this at the end. We set 10 minutes at the end of our surge meetings. We said, hey, we need to open these accounts, set up these contributions and distributions. So let's just do it. And I would come in here. Everything was already pre-filled if they're a household. I'd send it to them. They'd open their phone. They'd hit checkbox yes. I'd get the notification it was approved. I'd go in. I'd initiate the scheduled contributions and distributions. And they would leave the meeting already knowing that everything was done that they needed to do. It was a great client experience. Okay. Quick note here. Right now, we have an upload client agreement. This has been a pain point on Altruist for quite some time, in that where other custodians win in the account opening process is that DocuSign I talked about earlier, right? Like that is one client signing ceremony. That is a great, like that. The client doesn't care how long it takes the custodian to process unless you have to go back to them with a bunch of NIGOs, right? But if their account's open in 3 seconds or 3 hours, oftentimes it doesn't matter to the client. But when you're doing a DocuSign agreement, it's just one signing ceremony for them. It's one email. It's easy. on Altruist right now, how it's been is that you have to send your own client agreement and then you send an Altruist account opening application. Well, by the end of this year, the development has already started. We will have that included in this process. So you can templatize any onboarding forms you want. You can structure it how you want it to be sent out. A client will go through that and then automatically prompt it to go through the account opening flow. So all of that will actually be in a true digital one signing ceremony now. Okay.
I will say, you're making it sound like it's a worse experience than it is right now. Like I have I use box.com for my e-sign, and we e-sign, we like to keep those separate. Some people, I'm sure, especially if you're doing lots and lots of account openings and you're a mega firm that's doing, multiple a day, it's probably a pain point. For me, I like those separate simply because we have a lot of like hourly clients or planning only clients that don't have Altruist. So like we kind of already have to send them a separate e-sign that is outside of Altruist anyway, if we're not using Altruist. So it's not that big of a pain point for those of you that are smaller, which XYPN on average is a solo advisor. But if you're a mega RIA, it might be more of a headache. I will also mention, I might be jumping ahead, but the ACATs are really incredibly fast. And I love that it gives you like very clear, like it's with the firm and we're expecting one day until they get back to us. And then both firms are confirming and then it's in transit. Like it has really nice transparency on where the ACAT is instead of just kind of a black box and hoping that either you get the money one day or you get a rejection. It's a better experience.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think we're actually trying to enhance that a little bit even more to show, where an ACAT is in that journey. Because right now it shows account, ACAT included, and it shows kind of where. But I know like we've had some experiences, for example, when I was before Altruist, I was at Pershing and you could see the audit trail, right? And so we might be working on actually exposing some of that too. So we show you in the platform where the ACAT's at, but we want to give you even more granularity there.
Well, I feel like maybe I'm misspeaking or whatever, but in the transaction history of the actual account instead of this homepage, you can see the audit trail, or at least it has like kind of a timeline that at least it used to. I guess it's been.
Nice. I don't have real-time data in the demo site, so I wouldn't be able to verify that because we don't have like real ACATs coming in.
Gotcha.
But it could be the case.
Yeah.
I do see a couple people in here and I was looking at the chat for a second. We will get to billing, so people have asked some billing questions. But some people did mention like, hey, well, when do we actually get the client to sign, like to give us discretion? To your point, Jeremy, like that would happen in a separate process with your own e-sign right now, like your own advisory agreement. And as I just showed, like we're giving the ability for you to utilize that within our platform at the time of account opening as well.
Yeah.
So, all right, very good. So I want to go into once you have an account open. Again, this is where we get back to like the accounts tab here. Before we go into an account, I do want to show here one tab we did just gloss over a little bit, which is this retirement tab. So this is where you will see all of your status for contributions and distributions across your business. And you'll actually be able to see, if they're on pace to satisfy their RMD requirements. We will calculate the RMD requirements for you. And then you'll have the ability to set them up here. So you can just auto set up distributions for RMDs. You can do tax withholdings here. You can say where you want it to go to. So again, you could journal it inside of, let's see if I can edit this. Let's cancel it. You can set up journals to your high yield cash account if you wanted to, if you're using it as like a liquidity bucket. And then you can set up your tax rates too for your tax withdrawals. Okay. One thing I do get often, in case like someone might ask it, and I'm just going to preemptively tell you, like we do get a request to do 100% tax withholdings sometimes. If we do that, nothing actually gets sent out, so the system doesn't register it. So you have to do 99.99%. Okay, it's like a absurdly common request that I get, so I just wanted to mention that here.
Is that the case? I feel like I remember having done 100% withholdings on transactions before.
Have you? Okay, well maybe we've changed that. I was checking maybe a few weeks ago, and that was the case.
Okay, I don't know. I'm almost certain I have. I didn't do it through the retirement tab, but like as a standalone transaction. But maybe I'm misremembering.
That's great. I mean, if that's the case, that's a nice little small enhancement that we make. And again, like to your point earlier, Jeremy, we release things every 2 weeks. So I try and stay up on as much things as I can. And there are so many things we released that some of it's just like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's an enhancement that I'm even learning. So,
Yeah.
all right. So this is where you would see the contributions tab. So the flip side here, it will tell you the max, and then you could come in, and these are absurd, right? Like when we were funding the demo account, we just like threw money in here. So this is ridiculous. If you saw this would be obviously an error that you would want to fix. If someone's putting $12 million into a retirement account, but like the more helpful function here is to say, hey, this rollover IRA, you could put 8,600 in here, but there's nothing scheduled yet. So nothing's happened and nothing is scheduled. So if you scheduled something, it would populate here and show you that, oh, okay, now you're on pace to hit that difference. So you can imagine here, you could go to all your clients, and this is a huge planning opportunity for all of them.
So I really like the contributions and distributions tab of retirement. One thing that I think is feedback, and we'll get into sharing feedback with Altruist, which is great at the end of the presentation. But I think how it is by account. And I've long said it'd be great if it was by person, because it can't, max contribute to both a traditional and to a Roth IRA. So there are some small things like that where, that will probably be a future improvement that would be great to have. But already seeing this, beautiful screen, being able to clearly understand where everyone is at, and like if they're halfway through their contributions, and how much more is left, it's nice and clean. Another real quick tip: how we structure things. Again, some advisors might not enjoy manually updating the names every account, especially if you have a lot already. But since we started from the beginning with this naming scheme, we do last name, comma, first name, colon, type of account, and then parentheses for any kind of nickname of like, this is for a car purchase or my daughter's wedding or whatever. And then we have square brackets with the last four. That's how we name account types, so that's easy to filter and such. But
that's a really good idea. I'm gonna pause here and look at some of these comments. So Michael Jett, so it's funny. I played college baseball. I'm a big. You can see I live right next to Wrigley Field, and so I put a lot of these names in. This is a funny little anecdote. We were meeting with a really large firm, and it's like 12. There's like a whole leadership team. It's like 12 people, and that one guy just chimes in. He hasn't talked the whole time, and he's like, hey, where did you get the names for these people? And I was like, oh, I'm a Cubs fan, like I had Anthony Rizzo and things like that in there. And he's like, a lot of these people are our clients, so we would ask you to take those real names off of the demo site. And I was like, oh, it's just a strange comment that I've never had before, but I'm glad that at least that you like the names. I'm loving that a lot of other people have handled 100% distribution, so that's great. And then another one I saw is a common request is to be able to send money from paychecks to cash. So right now, like Katie, you had mentioned, you can't do this because we don't have routing numbers. Well, we're about to release margin and a lot of upgraded kind of banking functionalities. And as a part of that, we are providing routing numbers for accounts, for cash accounts to start. So that's a nice enhancement that's coming out very soon. Should be out here by the end of the fall, and you'll actually be able to do some of those money movement features a little bit better. So, and then I think we had a quick question. Jeremy, can you repeat the naming scheme again? That was really helpful.
Oh yeah, so for household it is just last name, comma, first name, and first name. And then for account, we do last name, comma, first name, colon, account type, so rollover IRA. And then we have curvy brackets, normal parentheses where it says if there's any kind of titling or like nickname that you want to do for specifying what the account's for. And then instead of doing what's default parentheses star star and then five numbers, we just truncate that to the last four in hard brackets, so it's separate. It's a little easier to read between the parentheses for the nickname, which I feel like the nickname goes with the parentheses a little bit easier, or that's how I think, at least. Yeah, I could put it in the chat if anyone wants.
Perfect. And yes, cash accounts are FDIC insured, 3 million single, 6 million joint. Okay. All right. So I'll go back in here, and let's say you've opened an account. The first thing you want to do, let's just say, is start moving some money or servicing the account. So let's go into an account that's open. Let's do another Gilbertson one. All right. So we come into this this household, the Gilbertson family. We see this account. if you want to do any money movement, you just hit the transfer funds button. And this is where you can initiate an ACAT after the fact. So let's say, client wants to transfer in an account app later on. You just do that here, same process. You just hit the button. So this is exactly the account opening workflow. Okay. So you can do that once the account is open if you'd like. You can also go on to transfer funds here. A client can do a deposit withdrawal. Advisors can do deposit withdrawals, transfers between accounts, including Roth conversions in here. And then you can also deposit checks. Okay. And you can write out digital checks from the account. So here's all your cashiering. Is like a little cashiering drawer. You can set up automated, on a certain frequency. You can do it one time. So here's where you do all your cashiering servicing requests within an account. And then some other servicing for accounts is in the details tab. So in the details tab, you can come in here and you're able to, I'm going to see if I can go to a retirement account just so. We're doing some demo maintenance right now. So that's not what this is the beneficiary box. So the beneficiary box, you can actually update or add beneficiaries for a client after the fact. And you don't need for a client signature there. So what would happen is you would put in the beneficiary, your client would get notified that your advisor is, added or modified beneficiaries. And then clients can also go in on their own client portal and do the same thing. You can also do a number of other servicing items here. So you can change mailing addresses, contact details, trusted contacts. You can edit their fully paid lending or their bank sweep preferences, their paper documentation. So all of these things seem pretty trivial, but historically, these are the things that you would actually need to paper form. You go to a client for, it becomes a whole ordeal, and it really doesn't need to be. And getting a little like kind of in the lore or the genesis story of Altruist, almost every other custodian out there was actually built to support direct to consumer first. And so when you do that, you need written confirmation of everything from the end client because the advisor wasn't part of that. But we built Altruist to support advisor workflows only. And so you guys have a fiduciary responsibility to your clients, and we trust you in that. And so we understand that, like, hey, you are the ones that own the client relationship. And so a lot of times you just need to be able to do things on your own and handle that communication with the client. And so that's like really a lot of the genesis of this screen is being able to say, hey, you're the fiduciary, you own the client relationship, you need these things serviced, so you need to do them on behalf of your client. If there's verification that we need from a security standpoint, we will ask you for that, and we can get that from your client. But the default is to say, hey, let's let you service and maintain your business as an advisor.
I'll hop in on the many calls I've had with various XYPN advisors and they ask well, how do you set this up? Or what are the steps? And a lot of times like LPOAs come up. It's like, well, did you sign the LPOA? And this is included in their disclosures and their account openings. And usually most things you can do, you have default permissions unless the client goes and opts you out of the various permissions, which none of them do because they're hiring you to do the job. And a lot of times, like for me, I'm updating their beneficiary designation instead of them trying to figure out how to do it or having to fill out paper form. We do it in the client meeting, and then I think they get a notification via email to make sure that everything's correct so that they know. But like we do surge meetings. We meet with all clients once per year for what we call an MAR meeting, managed account review meeting, and then the rest are financial plan review meetings throughout the year. But the one managed account review meeting, we have a checklist of things to do. And one of them is review details tab, which reviews, the trusted contact and the beneficiaries and everything. And we just change it in the meeting directly. I don't need to hand it off to, support staff. Like I don't understand that need. And like it imagining having to fill out a piece of paper to do that, like fills me with some rage. I just don't want to do that. Doing it directly is so much nicer.
Yeah. And I get this question a lot, like this pushback a lot of like, isn't this a compliance issue? And again, going back to what I was talking about, you have signed an agreement with your client to operate as their fiduciary and often with discretion. And so we honor that agreement and we give you that ability to do that. Now, there is a clear paper trail and an audit trail of like, you've made the change, Client gets notified, as Jeremy was saying, for like a beneficiary, for example. And so, yeah, of course, if you like put yourself as a beneficiary, that would be a major problem, and you would get dinged by the SEC if they caught that in an audit. We trust that you won't do that. And again, there's an audit trail, and we're highly regulated by the same entities, the same regulations and rules and agencies that are also regulating Schwab and Fidelity, and we adhere to the same standards. It's just like a paradigm shift, right? Like built for advisor workflows digitally only for advisors versus built on the chassis of retail before, frankly, like the internet even existed. And so it's a paradigm shift, right? But anyway, that's like a little bit of an aside on the details tab, because the details tab is actually a really big operational efficiency gain.
Huge, very. Don't want to minimize it. It is huge.
Yeah. Okay, so now that's a lot of the custodial functions, right? So account opening, moving money, maintaining accounts. Now we start talking about some of the technology overlay functions that we have on the platform. And we'll start by talking about investments, trading, model marketplace, all of those kind of things. So we can spend hours here. Like I'm going to try to do the best to summarize this and touch the high points. And then just pop your questions in the Q&A. We've got so many questions already, so I'm a little overwhelmed, but we'll do our best we can. Okay, so the first place I want to start is actually showing you where you would assign a portfolio. Okay, so you come into the account. Let's just, again, go back to a Gilbertson one. And I mentioned this before, but like here you could even see all the portfolios. So this portfolio tab or section on kind of like this working data table, you can see what portfolio is already assigned. This one doesn't have a portfolio assigned. So let's actually just do this. We'll just click assign, and you go right into selecting a portfolio, whether it's one from the model marketplace, maybe it's a custom model that you've built, or a personalized index. So we've actually launched direct indexing. We have direct indexing on the platform, and now we've given you the ability to personalize that. So you can do it for investment reasons or for client value reasons. Okay. So that's where you would go in and assign if you didn't see one. Let's just say you wanted to get really granular here and go into the holdings tab, and you can also assign a model portfolio right here. Okay. This is where you do all of the other trading and fancy stuff, right? So asset location, tax management, we'll get into some of this stuff later. But this is where you would assign the portfolio. And that portfolio could be a number of things. It could be one of them off of our curated model marketplace that we do heavy due diligence on before a firm is allowed to get on here. And so if you just wanted to fully outsource and you had a favorite manager, great. All you do, you select the list here. It gets updated on a regular basis based on the manager. You plug it into the rebalancer, and it gets traded automatically. Okay, that is one option. The other option is you could create your own portfolios and models. So that is where you would come into this custom models. You can see them. You can think of like models and portfolios as almost like sleeves or models. The language changes across the industry, but you basically build your models, which are the building blocks of portfolios. And then the portfolio is what you would assign to an actual account. And with asset location, you could actually assign it to a household. And then the portfolio itself would be managed automatically on your behalf to locate the taxable nature of the assets across the different tax managed account types.
It's exciting. It's one of the most requested features by a lot of advisors.
Yes. Do you know what the number one most requested feature is, Jeremy?
I could quickly check because it's public, but
yeah, it's some of the naming conventions are like they kind of blend them together, but it's the e-sign.
Yeah, e-sign, and then number 2 is HSA 529 DAF. I'll show you guys at the end of the presentation.
That's right. Okay, so if you wanted to do this, you could come in here and you could create a model from a number of different ways. So let's say you're on a different, let's say you're using Orion or you're a different custodian. You already have your models. Great. You could just import those files using a CSV. That ironically enough, when this came out, I was running my startup, and my startup was a personalized indexing tech platform. And this was a huge thing for us because we generated files for firms to use. But at the time, Altruist didn't have file upload. And so they released it while I was running my startup. It was a big enhancement because We just generated the file, and Altruist advisors just uploaded it, created a model.
So I, because I've been an Altruist user for such a long time, very engaged on the, the feedback side. I've done a lot of demos, and I pushed so hard for the file upload, the CSV upload, because I also did direct indexing where it's not personalized, but we were doing it custom direct indexes, basically an SMA. We had two SMAs, and one was 75 holdings, one was 100 holdings, and I had duplicated those for non-taxable and taxable. So I had to type and then put the percentage in for I did the math. That's how I convinced the engineers at Altruist to do it. It was like 7,000 clicks every 6 months or something like that I had to do. It's like, please let me upload. And now it's super easy.
Yeah, exactly. I know that we were the same thing. Yeah, 100%. So that's one way to do it. Or you could do the old-fashioned way, which if you're not doing a tons of holdings, this is also perfectly acceptable. But when you are doing 80 holdings per portfolio, it becomes pretty.
Like sometimes I'll just do a single holding portfolio like VT or SGov or VOO or whatever the common, across the board holding you might want to do. And it'll just do 100%, and that's the sleeve. And then you make a portfolio that is just holding that one sleeve, and you assign it. And it makes sure that you have some cash to be able to bill on, and it auto retrades. So it's kind of like a drip, but instead of having to make sure that you still have some cash, it will auto trade. So super nice.
So within the creating of the models, you can also add substitutes for funds. Okay, and this is really important when you're doing tax management, right? Because someone's you might have tax loss harvesting turned on, but if there's no substitute, it doesn't know necessarily what to then buy, right? Like you might harvest taxes for a fund, but it doesn't know what to buy to substitute from a diversification, from a tracking error type standpoint. So substitutes are really important. It's also really important for legacy planning, right? So if you want to get something to a certain model, and you're inheriting it from another advisor, you can add the substitutes. So let's say you want everything in VOO, but there's like 4 really obscure high mutual fund charge, funds that you want to move into VOO. You could just list the substitute for that. I don't have a good I'll just do like a double line fund. This would be a really weird substitute, by the way.
Yeah, that'd be a little strange.
Just showing you.
What I've done, that's another talk I've had a lot with some advisors of like, how do I choose my substitutes? So a lot of times we do temporary substitutes for the tax loss harvesting. So that just means after the 30 days or however long for the wash sale period, it will then switch back to what the target is. And so there are different opinions about what's considered an equivalent security, but in my opinion, like VOO and IVV are both S&P 500 ETFs. One's Vanguard, one's iShares, but they're both tracking the same index. But if you did VV, which would be Vanguard's large cap, just VV, I would consider that a different model or a different holding because they're very close, but they aren't substantially equivalent. Now, some practitioners might disagree with me. So maybe you do VTI, which is, I think, very clearly a different holding, which is total market. But yeah, there's definitely some discussions there where you're trying to find a very close fund to switch back and forth to do tax loss harvesting. And Altruist does a great job with the tax loss harvesting. So definitely look into substitutes, and there might be some reading up on equivalent securities to avoid wash sales.
Yep. So this is, again, just showing you what you can do in a model. And you can set these up. Again, like these are the building blocks of your portfolio. So you could, when I was doing kind of like Jeremy, like I was actually doing a little different, but like I would do custom indexing and I would just build one model and the model was the portfolio. So you can do that. You can make a model a portfolio and assign the portfolio. You could get very granular though. You could have one model be one stock holding and have 5 of those, 5 models, individual stocks, make that no portfolio. Or you could do maybe a more standard, which is like your US equity model, and your international equity model, and you can make those into portfolios. Okay.
That's common where I've seen different advisors like have their 30 stock picks and then they have like 5% of the portfolio just go to their stock picks. And the rest is like in VOO and in their normal ETF models. If I can, how we do it So we do our personal SMAs basically. So we like GARP, growth at a reasonable price. So we have our own GARP funds that are directly held stocks that we upload as a CSV. So we have two of those that we blend together. So we have two models that are GARP directly held stocks, and then we have the rest held as ETF holdings for like small cap or international that I don't feel comfortable directly holding those stocks because there's too many of them. And then for those that I want to do, say, ESG investing or SRI investing, instead of our GARP holdings, we'll strip that out and we'll do UMA, Unified Managed Account, where we will add the seeds SMA, which they do their whole filtering. So I don't know if you're still showing stuff on the screen or not, but if we could go to the marketplace for those that are looking for personalized ESG holdings. Yeah, you could also do the Altruist personalized index. But if you scroll down to
do you just want me to show the seeds one? I can go through this.
Yeah. I just want to show how what we do. So if you go down to seeds, there you go. And then you scroll to their large cap value tilted SMA series, the fourth in the middle. It's 25 bips. And they have a questionnaire on the website, and you have your clients fill it out, and they, through their questions, they rank I, E, and P, integrity, environment, and people. And based off of that importance level, some people value the environment above all else. Other people would value the employees of a company. So that would be people. And so I really like doing this conversation with clients where we're saying, okay, instead of just putting it into a mutual fund that is ESG, let's say, that who decides what's ESG, it's the mutual fund, and you're trying to find the best fit. Here, you're trying to actually personalize it to their values. Now, there's alternative way, which is the personalized indexing, which we haven't used yet, mostly because we that's just not how we did things, but we might start using it more if you want to explain it.
Yeah, it's a good time to show you this. So like, there's some learning here just into direct indexing and actually pairing that with tax management as well. Adam Grealish, one of our VP of products, and I did a tax management webinar to talk about this from like the advisor and client perspective as well. So check that out. I think it's on our website if you want to see that. It goes pretty into the weeds here, but I'll just show you the actual personalized indexing here. So to do this, similar to what you talked about, Jeremy, on seeds, you can choose your base index. So if you want to do this as like, hey, you've got your, I'll actually show this when we build the portfolios. But let's say you've got like your favorite bond manager, and you just want to do a S&P 500 ETF, but you want to really do like a small cap, I don't know, or international ADR direct index. You could do that, or you could choose the all cap as well. We have all these index options, and then you would hit customize. And when you customize, you come in here, you name your index, and this is actually an optimizer. You've got now a screen into an optimizer. And so what you would do is you would apply your sector and your industry screens. Okay, let's just say for some reason we don't want to do financial services. Okay, well, let's screen that out.
Energy is the most common, yeah, but sure. Yeah. Someone really hates banks.
Yeah, and this is actually a good to lean on this here. You could do this part from your perspective as an advisor, and you might have your own perspectives on certain industries you just want to get out, like stay out of, right? Or even drop down, like let's just say banks. You've got this theory that banks might crash. You want to be out of banks. Okay, whatever it is, I don't know. Your own investment reasons. Well, your client also might have concerns or issues here, and so they can come in here, or you might, right? You might want to build your own thematic issues and values types indexes as a firm that you can market. Great, come in here and say, hey, let's do faith-based. Okay, and
the Islamic I've seen a lot on. Like, of course, XYPN has a lot of Kingdom advisors, so Catholic values is a big one. But I haven't seen as many Islamic value good providers out there. So being able to do that in a relatively easy way has come up in the past for me.
That's right. And then you come in here and then you can actually do specific holdings. So let's go back to like the investment strategy planning. Let's say this person works at Tesla. Let's see. Is Tesla stock? That might be bad. Let's just say NVIDIA. It's an easier one. Oh, it might already been screened out actually. So
I think
it's
you're
not.
doing small caps right now, so you probably
Oh,
are.
that's why. That's exactly right. Okay, so let's say your client works at Arrowhead Pharmaceuticals. Okay, and you're like, hey, they have a bunch of stock there. You don't want to be over concentrated. You just take it out. Okay, so now you can see we've applied all these screenings. What it's going to do is that the optimizer is actually going to now build the customized index based on investment preferences, very granular exclusions, or issues and values screenings. And then you will all of a sudden now have a customized index for each client.
And this is trying to find like lowest tracking error. Is that what it's trying to optimize
Yeah,
for?
it's going to optimize on tracking error. So this is like an interesting conversation, like getting a little bit kind of how the sausage is made. Adam and I had a conversation early on of like, what's the purpose of this? Like, is this an institutional optimizer or is it more for like a client differentiator? Because we could expose, and I had done this at my startup, like I actually exposed sliders to say, hey, do you want more track? Are you okay with more tracking error? Right now, what we've done in the first iteration is to optimize around tracking error and focus more on kind of the bigger picture screens and customizations. But that is an enhancement that we are looking at down the road. Okay. But now what you'll see is what's been screened out, what's actually been excluded because of those screens or because you selected them. And then what that tracking error is, and different portfolio settings if it's assigned to a portfolio. Okay.
One thing I'll say is, the manual exclusions are very popular, and we haven't really used the personalized indexing as much, but we have our let's call it an SMA, our personal holdings, and so we're in Maryland, Virginia, around the DC area. So there was a lot of Doge cuts, a lot of people not happy with Elon, so there was a lot of exclude Tesla, exclude SpaceX. There's other people that dislike various war stuff. So there's a lot of exclude Palantir, or there's liberal values like exclude Oracle, or whatever you want to exclude. And having that power and being able to go to clients. Some people don't want to pay an extra basis point fee for a personalized index, or some people don't want to pay the 25 basis points for seeds to be able to actually manage around these ESG factors. All they want is give me your default recommendations and let me just pick out 2 or 3 that I just don't want to be part of. And it works great, and clients really love it.
And you can see our price on these is published here on the screen.
Still very inexpensive. I know a lot of other providers. A lot of other providers are much more expensive, and they also can't do it at $2,000, an account, because they don't have fractional shares or whatever.
Yes. So we've spent a lot of time here, but I want to point out one more point here. Like, again, you could just use a direct index to be a small cap index, but because it's individual holdings at fractional shares, you can actually do a lot more tax management with it. And it's going to still be at the same or lower cost as a small cap ETF. Okay. So a little bit there. I got a question if I'll be Todd. Yeah, I will be in Brooklyn, and I'll also be in Future Proof if anyone wants to be in Future Proof and wants to talk about Altruist things. But okay, so going back to creating, let's actually finalize. Okay, we've created, there's different options for models, but let's actually create the portfolio here. So when you create a portfolio and someone asks a question about how configurable is the rebalancer, that's what we're going to do right now. So you would name your portfolio. I'll come back to rebalancing in a second. This is where you would actually put the model allocations. So let's go back to my example of, like, let's just say you want like a US equity model that was a custom model. Okay. And that's 50% of that. And then let's say you wanted your fixed income from the marketplace. So let's say you really like PIMCO. Great. Let's just pick a PIMCO model. And let's just say that's a 40%. And then you wanted a 10% that small cap personalized index. Okay. So let's just do that. Small cap personalized index here and say 10%. Okay. You can set a minimum trade size if you want to. So realize we are fractional shares, which is a big value add because it allows us to have virtually no minimums or very low minimums for every investment that we have. And so the downside of that is sometimes if you have active tax management on, you might see a lot of activity because we're very tight on the rebalancer if you set it that way. And so you might want to minimize that trade size.
Yeah. What are the options? I think it's 10 and 25 are the most common. We use 10 and set in dollars. Some people just set in percentages, but we do $10. because we're just worried about like penny spreads on lots of these, highly liquid ETFs. So it's not worried about too much, but that's what we use if you're if you're looking for, what's an easy solution or choice. That's what we use. It might not apply to your situation.
Mhm. And then here's where you set the actual triggers to rebalance. So you've got, you can do it automatic, you do manual, which is you just push it in, and then you would set the drift tolerance. So how tight you want the rebalance to go back to the target. Or you can do automatic and you can do event or drift based. So drift based is, go ahead, Jeremy.
Yeah, just the drift tolerance, especially if you're saying event, how we've determined it is we specify it based off of the account type. So for a taxable account, so we duplicate all of our models. Maybe one day Altruist will have being able to specify it in the settings here. But in our taxable accounts, we have a much larger drift allowance where it goes up to 100% drift allowance, where we do custom 100%. And then in the IRA is where we don't care as much about the trading. Will have a 0% rebalance, but some people will have a in between at 50. I think for our ETF model or small cap or small account model where we don't want a billion holdings, we have that at 50%. So just trying to think through how much variance you want from your model based off of not only the tax loss harvesting trying to get value, but just like normal drifts and normal market movements. How long will you let it run? And kitsis.com has lots of resources on like what's the optimal rebalance schedule and like how far should you let the drift, and it all comes down to risk and such.
That's right. And then I'm cognizant of time here. We only have about 20 more minutes.
Yeah, we got to speed around it.
Yeah, that's right. So that's how you would build the portfolios, and they're highly configurable. And then if you're not comfortable with like, especially as you want to get used to it, on the automated rebalancing, you can actually go into under trading, go into proposals, and you can set the review and release settings, and you will see all of the proposed trades generated from automatic rebalancing and why. So you could come in here and you could actually say, hey, like, let's look at this proposed trade and the impact of cash, long-term gains, tracking error to what was initially set, and the current where it's at versus proposed, and the actual trades here. One of the enhancements that we're building is the ability to edit this. Right now, it's like an accept or decline. If you don't like it, you decline it. You have to go change some of the rebalancer settings or just wait. We're giving the ability pretty soon to actually edit these within here. Okay. All right. I'm going to skip through. Let's do a quick, if you do have a model assigned, let's just go some cash management pieces here. So let's say you've got a model assigned and you go into the holdings. This is where you can easily just do set custom cash targets or just one-time cash requests. So let's say you have a client, they're renovating a house, they need to pull, 75 grand from an account. Great. You can choose when to set that aside. You can put a memo in here if you wanted to, and then that would automatically raise that cash in the most tax effective way that aligns with the rebalancer settings that you have set for the account.
I'll also throw another, maybe counterintuitive use case, because right now they don't, Altruist doesn't offer like glide paths or like say a client has $1 million in cash and they just became a client, but they don't want to deploy it all today. So it'd be great to be able to glide path it in or have a dollar cost average it over time, which you might be able to do with two accounts and automatic transfers with one that has a model, one has the cash. You can do that. An alternative way is you can do cash set aside, and you can set aside 100 grand until 9 months from now, and then 100 grand until 8 months from now, and 100 grand until 7 months from now. And then after those expire, it'll automatically release it from that excluded holding, and it'll auto trade. So that's one way to automate some of those tasks.
That's good. That's good tip there. And then one other layer on top of the rebalancer is our tax management. And so here you'll be able to see tax sensitivity. There's no cost. I recommend every non-qualified account has it because it monitors wash sale rules. When you do raise cash, it'll minimize gains, things like that. So that's the first layer. And then the second layer is actually the advanced tax management piece here. So the asset location and tax loss harvesting. And this is where you can get really granular. You can do daily tax loss harvesting. You can set the scoring methodologies for your different accounts and holdings so that your asset location will be able to manage however you want it to algorithmically. Like you get to set the settings for that. And then you can set gains budgets too. So this will shape the rebalancer to say, hey, you know, we've got, let's just say a $12,000 gains budget. We're going to spread it out monthly, so $1,000 per month. And you can even break that out to say short-term and long-term. So you want 3,000 annual short-term and 9,000 long-term. Every trade and rebalance outside of cash set aside will fall in the bounds that you're setting here.
I'll say, you know, we do our one-time managed account review each year, and one of our checklist items is review that tax rate and make sure that that tax rate is correct, because that's what is, you know, tax loss harvesting based off of, and make sure that the gains balance and everything is the target goal. One feedback that I've given in the past to Altruist that maybe they'll add one day is right now the capital gains budget is it won't continue incurring gains above a level, but in some cases capital gains harvesting, not only tax loss harvesting, but tax gain harvesting is a thing where like you have someone who's in college or someone who has, for whatever reason, on sabbatical, and they don't have they're below the 0%, the below the 15% capital gains rate. They're at 0%. You know, maybe we want to automatically be harvesting those gains, which also doesn't have a wash sale period. It's just let's do it instantly. So it'd be a great one day to have like a ceiling floor option instead of just a ceiling. But you know, I'm sure that'll come eventually.
Yeah, that's good feedback. Okay, I want to fly through some of the high level like notifications. You can edit these on the platform. You know, app versus email notifications. You can,
and they're great when you click on them. They bring you right to the account. So like if it's like someone deposited, you click on it, it goes right to the account. It's wonderful.
That's right. Let's say you want to go into, let's do setting up your team. So again, some of these enhancements here, I just want to go through very quickly. So here's where you invite your team. You can now do custom roles and permissions. So if you want team members to be able to see certain things and not others, you can really add that custom role. And let's see if I can just edit one here. Custom role, oops. Custom role, edit. So you can get very granular in all the different things that this role you could allow it to do and not do to match your practice and how you've built your team. Okay. And then if we also go into account groups here, account groups, you can set points of contact for account groups. So if you have a specific account group that you want one staff person to manage, instead of the firm owner or admin getting all of the notifications, you can actually set that person to be the point of contact for that account group as opposed to the firm. And then lastly here is the branding piece. So if we wanted to go into settings and do firm profile, do brands, you can build brands and you can assign them to account groups. So you can see here 1 RIA, 3 DBAs assigned to different account groups, right? So if you have a next gen offering and you have a different branding for that, it's still in the same RIA, but you can just create that brand and assign it to the account groups within that like next gen offering, if you wanted to say that. Okay. Trying to think here. Oh, fee billing. We got a lot of questions on fee billing. So I'll spend a little bit of time on fee billing. Fee billing is very easy at Altruist. And again, like hopefully you're seeing a theme here that's like very simple UI, but it's actually pretty robust underneath the hood. So the same thing here. So very simple. You can create a schedule. The schedule can be different type of fee, different timing of the fee, and calculation of it. Okay, and let's just say it's AUM. You can set minimums. You can do blended rates. You can set different tiers. Okay, and then you could very easily assign that schedule across households. Okay, and that fee billing schedule would be pro rata across the household that you assign it to. But you can also get very granular if you wanted to when it comes to fee billing. So let's go back into an account here. And we'll just do the Gilbertson one for sake of simplicity. Let's do Gilbertson. And hopefully real time, you're seeing how different ways to navigate this. Like you can do filters, you can do searches. I could search bar at the top if I wanted to. Okay, so let's do billing. So now we're in this family. And you can actually come into by accounts and you can do fee schedules by accounts. You can create account groups. And then even within the account settings, you can exclude certain accounts from billing. Okay, so let's say I had one client before I before I sold my practice that he wanted to do everything in crypto. Like he wanted the crypto ETFs. I was like, sorry, I can only manage those up to a certain percentage. Like I can't reasonably charge a fee on a 40% crypto holding that I'm not doing anything on. So he opened a separate account. I did the billing schedule, and then I just hit exclusion for that account. Okay. You then can also say, hey, I want this account to be the payment account. Let's say they had a cash account. This is not a cash account, but let's just say there was a cash account. That's not letting me.
I don't think they have one.
Oh, well, yeah, I know, but I was just saying payment account cannot be edited when fee allocation is set to manual. That's why. But let's just say you had a household fee schedule, but you wanted all the fees to be paid out of the house account or the cash account. You could come in here, you could set that as the payment account and 100% fee, and all of the fees calculated within the account will be taken from one household or from one of the accounts inside the household. Okay.
What we do, I think is best practice across the board is Roth IRAs are billed to their cash account, and cash accounts we don't bill on. And then individual accounts are kind of up to you if you bill to themselves or bill to the cash account. And then traditional IRAs, because it's pre-tax, you're getting that discount on fees. Having it billed to itself. Of course, you can't bill like a Roth IRA or individual to the traditional IRA because then that would be a withdrawal on those external accounts. But billing fees for its own account is not. It's excluded from the IRS. I guess a fee to the account instead of a withdrawal from the account. So that we usually do Roth IRAs directly to cash. But I have at least one client that said, no, I just want the fees attributed to the exact account. And we're like, we're fine. So we can customize that, which is great.
That's right. And you can also do things like, you flat fees. So you could do like a subscription or recurring flat fee out of a cash account for planning if you wanted to. You can do that there. I have gotten some questions about how Altruist is paid in different fee routings. So if you wanted to go into fee routings, so there are certain things that Altruist, so Altruist, as an example, they do make money. We do make money on marketplace portfolios, right? Like the 12 bips on the direct indexing. Well, you can charge that to your own firm or you can pass on to the client. Same thing with certain mutual fund trades or paper documents or fixed income trades. Or someone had a question about the Altruist One fee, which is like an asset-based pricing per household. So it's 1 bip per month, 12 bips per year. And you get various like enhancements to you don't get any trading fees. You get reduced model marketplace fees. You get inclusion of the tax loss harvesting and asset location fees for Altruist One. That can be charged to the house account or it can be passed on to the client. Okay.
Yeah.
And then to answer that question more fully, Altruist makes money on the custodial level, like just like a Schwab might, right? Like, so we're making money on interest rate spreads, cash sweeps, fully paid lending. But because we also have the technology layer where we do have the model marketplace fees, some of the tax management fees on custom models. We also make revenue streams that way as well, which is part of the reason that Altruist exists, is that if you're able to actually operate as a custodian and you can house all of the technology, like you can, the end customer and the advisor get less of a fee because it's all monetized at scale at the custodial level, right? Yeah. So at the flip side of that is like, let's say you use Fidelity and Orion. Like Orion has their own BIPS fee for their trading and their billing. Fidelity has their platform fee, and those compound. Where our thesis is if you put it all on one platform and at scale, you can actually drive down the cost of those pretty significantly.
I'm asking that we have this podcast episode, kitsis.com/350, which is with Jason Wank. It explains how Altruist makes money. Is really in depth. It's like 2 hours talking about how the custodian actually works. Really good listen. Highly recommend it. A lot of it, also like shared lending and all that kind of fully shared, fully paid lending is what I'm looking for. It's really, really powerful.
So we've got 7 minutes because we have a hard stop. XYPN is another webinar. So I want to get to some of these questions. Is there a cost for asset location? Yes. It'll be tax management, which is tax loss harvesting, and asset location. That's 10 bips, but that's only if you're using a custom model. So if you're using our direct indexing or model marketplace models, there's no cost. And if you're using Altruist One, there's no cost, additional cost. So Altruist One actually is a really Altruist One you're going to have specialized margin pricing. You're going to get all the tax tax management included. You get enhanced high yield cash rates. So Altruist One becomes a really powerful pricing mechanism if it's right for the right households. And we have a little calculator on our platform. When you enroll or about to enroll a household into Altruist One, it will show you the cost savings or the cost increase for that household before you enroll in them. Okay.
I'll also say they don't double charge you. I think that's just a different way to say what you said. It's like if you're paying for the model market price fee, you're not the tax loss harvesting is free. So
Exactly.
like if you're going to already pay it, like it kind of just all bundles together. It's quite easy.
I got a question about Hazel. We didn't really even talk about Hazel, which is a bummer because Hazel can do so much. It's like the AI layer on top of, it's kind of the cherry on top of the custodial, the trading, and the asset management layer. You could do so much in Hazel, and there will be further integrations in the future. But already, like all the Altruist data passes into Hazel, and you do not have to be an Altruist user to use Hazel. And so Hazel does financial planning, tax planning. It has CRM capabilities. It has meeting notes. It's a very powerful tool. We use it internally, just even for like the meeting recording and CRM stuff and the custom agents or custom modes. So that is a really powerful thing. Jeremy's gonna pull up
Yeah,
some examples of
I'll
this.
just really quickly show it. Like, so we use Hazel, absolutely great. We switched from another industry specific AI note taker, and Hazel also does note taking, but does so much more. Like, I can upload an annuity policy and then ask it, hey, give me a pretty. This is anonymized. You can ask it to make it anonymized if you want to, and hey, make a pretty explanation that I can read easily, or I can send to my client because a lot of times the clients don't know what they bought, and it'll make little tables and little graphics and surrender charge schedules, but also like it has cool like ability to do like waterfall charts and such. So super awesome. Another one that was I hadn't thought of doing is I'm in a NAFA mix mastermind for estate planning, and we wanted case studies. So I just went to Right Capital, exported the 100-page plan, and I went to Hazel and said, "Hey, give me an anonymized case study on this plan, pull all the context from my CRM notes and my meetings, and spit it out." And it gave me all the context, fully anonymized, asset location. And I didn't even ask it for it. It was great. It gave me discussion questions for the mastermind. It's just really cool stuff that Hazel can do that you don't like. Whatever you can imagine. I've been very impressed by what it can do. Like I've also had, since it's integrated with Altruist, you can just say, okay, based on my net new assets in the past, market growth and such, you can also just ask it, hey, what are my net new assets, or what's my market growth, how it breaks down. You can say, my average BIP fee is this. Now project out for the next 5 years based off of my past growth. And it'll give you pretty graphs and it'll help you do business projections. Very impressive. I guess if I can just rapid fire a few of the things I wanted to get through that we kind of ran out of time for. For billing and invoicing, I've been a big proponent of, if you're multi-custodial, a lot of XYPN members have Schwab as their main custodian. You can link Schwab. If you can share your screen out, I don't know if you have it, that part in your settings, but you can link Schwab or Fidelity, and it's $1 per month instead of Orion's higher fees or any other kind of outside billing option. So you connect it, you have to fill out a form, and then it auto updates or auto sends the holdings data and such. So you get performance and billing for $1 per month after the first 100 accounts, I believe. So
That's right.
Like this, feedback to Altruist again. This is so like not advertised at all. And I guess it's because it's not something you want to push necessarily. You want people using Altruist's platform with its own accounts.
That's exactly right. That's right.
Like for those of you that are like thinking about using Altruist, it costs you nothing. Link your Schwab accounts, see how the billing works, open a few cash accounts for your clients, and I think you'll see how easy Altruist is. And like you don't need to abandon all your accounts at Schwab. Like you can still have those accounts over there if you want to. So definitely something that should be looked into.
And we do have integration. So like if you've as your tech stack like chosen your like Orion or your Salesforce to really be the hub of your practice, we can easily connect to those. We have an API suite. These are all just self-service integrations. Um, Although one note I will say that just like on building tech stacks, just realize the custodian is very important in this industry, and they hold a lot of power, and they hold all the data. And so everything else is basically a layer on top of that. So if you're thinking about building tech stacks or building a new practice or reframing things, like I would highly encourage you to start with a custodian, because that really is the foundation of running an RIA, is who you're choosing as the custodian.
And since we're about to run out of time, we got to stop a little early. Can I share my screen one last time
Yeah.
where it is we had talked about earlier the feedback, and by far out of everything Altruist does, my favorite part of it is how collaborative they are and how much they listen to advisors. So on Altruist, there's a little button that says the ideas tab, and it pops you into candy.io, and like you can see their roadmap of what is in progress, who voted. We talked about top features, like 583 advisors upvoted for e-signature. You got HSAs, 5 to 9s, DAFs, applying fee schedules with account opening. And you see where it is in progress, planned, under consideration. And when you click into these, like you have advisors actually commenting, giving ideas. And I can speak with inexperience. I started with them in 2021, and I've been pulled into dozens of meetings with their engineers saying, hey, should we put the button here or here? And does this workflow make sense to you? And like they have implemented feedback of mine. So that's my favorite part of Altruist. A lot of other software providers, it kind of feels like shouting into the void. I was like, did you get my feedback? We got your feedback. Why are you going to do anything about it? And you hear nothing. So I guess that's probably a good place to end. Sorry we didn't get into all the Q&As. We have 48 Q&As and we barely touched them.
That's right.
Great. Well, Brad, Jeremy, thank you so much for just giving us your time this past hour and a half. It's been really insightful, and I hope the rest of the participants, the rest of the attendees in the audience are that they gleaned some insight from this. Brad, if anyone has any follow-up questions, because right, to Jeremy's point, there are 48 open Q&A, and I'm sure that there could be a lot more. How can someone reach out to you to
Yeah, I would say find me on LinkedIn personally. You can also go to just altruist.com, and then in the top right, see us in action, and then there's a little form that someone will reach out. But you can always feel free to LinkedIn message me.
Cool.
I see two really, really like one-line answer on Q&As. Yes, Hazel integrates with Wealthbox, and how it bills on Schwab. I believe you get a billing file and it goes directly to Schwab, and then they send you a check or something like that. Those are two really quick answers there.
Beautiful. I love when those are very simple questions to answer. Thank you, Jeremy. To all of you, if you do have any questions, as Brad said, go ahead and connect with him on LinkedIn, and go to Altruist and also just connect there. And then, yeah, if you are not an XYPN member, but you're interested in joining membership, by all means, schedule an intro call with one of our success strategists. We love to talk to you. And if you, yeah, need anything else from us, we're here to help and just be a guide to you. But thank you all so much. Thank you, Brad. Thank you, Jeremy, again, just for your time. I hope that everyone has a lovely rest of your day, and hope to see you again soon. Bye.
Thanks, Sarah.